Welcome to the Third Eye Show, which brings you ancient wisdom as well as cutting-edge investigations into the mysteries of the universe. The Third Eye Show celebrates our diversity, like the unique beauty of each individual wave, and our oneness, like the magnificent ocean from which each wave emerges. We are all one in spirit as we live on this earth plane. The third eye is said to be able to see into the spiritual and psychic realms. At a time when our lives, our country, and our planet are undergoing intense transformations, we will explore topics that will fascinate, enlighten, and empower. Join us as we witness the thrilling ways spirit manifests in our daily lives and the varied paths we choose to create heaven here on our earth. The Third Eye Show is created and offered in love and light.
Today's Third Eye Show has something for everyone. First, with candles, incense, and invocation, Allison Hollingshead, Stella Colpile, and Patty McDonald welcome summer back to the world with a beautiful Beltane ritual. Then, Patty empowers us with suggestions for changing our lives by changing our minds about ourselves. Next, Lucia Reed and Patty reveal some of the deeply spiritual symbols contained in tarot cards, which are used for personal growth as well as divination. And finally, Lucia chats with Kim Jordan and Ray Gentle, volunteers with the Sullivan County, New Hampshire Humane Society, about their loving service to homeless pets. Oh, and we also spice up the program with a sprinkling of animal stories and fables. Don't touch that dial.
Hi there. Please join us for a Beltane ritual, the Celtic summer solstice. We're going to get started today by sounding the singing bowl. This ritual is inspired by the occult work of the Golden Dawn, a Western esoteric order based in England. It is passed on to me by one of its founders, Violet, also known by her magical name as Dion Fortune. This ritual is drawn from this body of work and the influences of the ancient and modern Celts, and my training with the Philosopher's Stone, which continues to this day through this search for enlightenment. Occult science is the basic knowledge of the true human being, for the real truth lies within the communion of the inner cauldron, and it is the peace which passeth all understanding. As above, so below. As the gates of Beltane swing open on May 1st, sunlight and blossom welcome the procession of the year into the green halls of summer. Companions, let us pause a while to rest from all our labors in the light and celebrate our coming season at this summit of the solar cycle. Let us open the doors to our spirituality and this our ritual observance so that we may align our own natures with the essential energy behind creation itself through the cycles and changes that complete the great circle of cosmos, which we term simply nature. Let us run this essential energy through our chakras as we ground our connection with our Mother Earth. Nature flourishes all around us, and so we should flourish also. Okay, so let us sit with our palms up on our thighs, our feet flat on the ground. Imagine that you have 2 grounding cords running from the balls of each foot. Take your grounding cord and bring it down into the earth and let them join together into one cord. Let them pass through the crust of earth, through the molten lava, into the earth's core, and into the crystalline core in the middle of Middle Earth. Find there your spot and connect your grounding cord to that spot which is unique to you. Once you have found your spot in crystalline core, bring your cord back up through the layers of earth, back up to earth crust, back to this room, and let it divide once more until it is 2 cords going into the ball of each foot. Bring your grounding cord up through the ball of your foot and into your ankles, and as this cord travels up through your ankles, it becomes a ribbon of golden light. This is the light of the sun, as reflected through the earth. This is the light that brings us our healing sun, our nature, our warmth, our light. Now this ribbon of light comes up through our ankles, up through our calves, winding its way in its own pattern, gently, carefully, up through the knees, around the knees, and up through the thighs. These ribbons of light come up through our hips and join together at the first chakra, the root chakra. The golden light winds its way through the chakra in this circle, this wheel of light, and continues its journey up into the sacral chakra, moving around in its own way where it is needed, carefully, gently, until it comes to the solar plexus chakra. It continues moving up through the heart chakra, lending light wherever it is needed, moving in its own way. Each of us feels this differently as it moves up towards the crown. Winding its way around the heart, up through the thymus, into the throat chakra. It carefully winds itself in the front of our throat and the back of the neck, cleansing, soothing, leaving light wherever it is needed. Up through the neck, and up through to the middle of the head, up into the third eye, the front of the head, and the back of the skull, winding its way through the chakras, coming up towards the crown. And as it comes through the crown chakra, it reaches towards the heavens and turns into a fountain of light that comes back upon our entire aura and spreads our entire being with golden light. As above, so below. Now we shall light the candles of the 4 quarters.
Thank you, Holly.
That was great.
Let us light the path so that we may see our way more clearly.
Okay, I am going to light a yellow candle, which is for spring, and also, whoops, I can get it out over there, which is for spring and the direction of east, and also the red candle, which symbolizes summer, and also the element of fire, as the sun is overhead. And so it's the south and the sun.
Mm-hmm.
I'm lighting the blue candle for autumn, the element of water as the sun is setting in the west. And I'm lighting the green candle for winter, the element of earth when the sun is not seen in the north.
In the center, we have the white candle for the eternal flame of spirit, and for white that absorbs all colors. Companions, let us gladly take responsibility for what we are and all that we may do together. Blessed are the signs of summer all around us. At this turn of the year, we celebrate the sacred fire in order to purify the air, encourage the growth of our crops and our intentions, and prepare ourselves for the harvest. In current times, this fire is evident in the glow of the charcoal for our ritual incense. Blessed be the sun that comes among us in a friendly fire. Our seasonal incense is made of frankincense, myrrh, and rose.
Frankincense is to bring success to us in both the spiritual and mundane worlds. A male energy is frankincense, whose fragrance aids in the focus of concentration and helps to keep the mind aware of that which is going on within the ritual. An herb of protection, it cleanses and purifies the soul and spirit, keeping us safe. Sacred to Apollo, it represents the sun's fire and energy and has within it an element of seeing the value of discipline, particularly for those who study spiritual paths.
Myrrh brings communion with spiritual awareness and a better understanding of the currents of energy that flows through a ritual. A female energy, sacred to Luna and aligned with the moon, myrrh heightens the magical awareness of any spiritual experience. Myrrh is very appropriate to burn when attempting to understand the depth of personal emotions, such as sorrow, as it has an aspect of peace and solitude about it.
Red roses are sacred to Aphrodite, goddess of love, and represent summer and the beauty which is capable of winning over evil and adversity. Roses also represent the love of the Christ and Mary, his mother, and help us to understand the greater mystery of sacrifice. Roses bring with them the ability to learn the balance of giving, how to do so selflessly, and to take joy in the process, rather than to expect a return. They represent all aspects of the goddess, the ability to love and nurture, and to see beauty in all things. Let us grind these gifts together into one attention for the summer ahead. Now it is time for our affirmations.
Okay, here's a piece of paper for each of you.
Thank you. What is our intention for these summer months? What is it that we wish to cleanse, to ignite, to release and create for ourselves in the coming months? Let us dedicate our living souls to the light. Let us write a brief affirmation that shall allow our intentions to take flight with our incense while they fill the air with the blessings of our heart's desires. With faith and confidence, on behalf of our companionship, I present before these portals the petitions from our hearts and souls. Let these emblems of our secret thoughts and prayers be sent through fire to highest light. While our affirmations and intentions surround us in this sacred smoke, let us make a toast to our acceptance in receiving that which we require for our life's fulfillment. There's one. Okay. Let us quench the fire of thirst and rejoice in this abundance of ours, our Beltane ritual. Come then, companions, wash away with will our weariness from work or worry in this world. Be rested and regenerated by the waters of compassion, in the depths of which the supreme spirit of surpassing love renews the life of every single soul. In olden times, our ancestors used ale to celebrate this season, since it seemed to them the blood of that beneficence which brought them barley bread. Let us share this symbol gladly in our company with that same spirit which commenced the custom and continues it among us at the present time. Let us reflect upon that spirit within the lines of this poem by Thomas Evans.
Winter and summer. All the sweetness of nature was buried in black winter's grave, and the wind sings a sad lament with its cold, plaintive cry. But oh, the teeming summer will come bringing life in its arms, and will strew rosy flowers on the face of hill and dale. In lovely harmony, the wood has put on its green mantle, and summer is on its throne, playing its string music. The willow, whose harp hung silent when it was withered in winter, now gives forth its melody. Hush, listen, the world is alive.
Our affirmations have been received as our intentions were made known. Our dedication has been received and blessed. And now it is time for our closing prayer. O thou single source of light and life, whose scattered seeds we are on earth, thanks be that we have grown and flourished as we stand within thy garden. May light and beauty be upon us in the name of wisdom, love, justice, and the infinite mercy of the one eternal Spirit. May the blessed ones enlighten us this summer season and throughout our time forevermore. As above, so below. As above, so below. Thank you.
Thank you.
In one of the churches at Lambeth, England, there is a painting on a window representing a man with his dog. There is a story connected with this painting which is worth telling. Tradition informs us that a piece of ground near Westminster Bridge, containing a little over an acre, was left to that parish by a peddler upon condition that his picture, accompanied by his dog, should be faithfully painted on the glass of one of the windows. The parishioners, as the story goes, had this picture executed accordingly and came in possession of the land. This was in the year 1504. The reason given for the peddler's request is that he was once very poor, when one day, having occasion to pass across this piece of ground, and being weary, he sat down under a tree to rest. While seated here, he noticed that his dog, who was with him, acted strangely. At a distance of several rods from the place where he sat, the dog busied himself for a while in scratching at a particular spot of earth, after which he returned to his master, looked earnestly up to his face, and endeavored to draw him toward the spot where he had been digging. The peddler, however, paid but little attention to the movements of the dog until he had repeated them several times, when he was induced to accompany the dog. To his surprise, he found, on doing so, that there was a pot of gold buried there. With a part of this gold, he purchased the lot of ground on which it had been discovered, and bequeathed it to the parish on the conditions mentioned above. The peddler and his dog are represented in the picture which ornaments the window of that church. But is the story a true one? Well, Stranger things have happened.
How you feel about yourself either on a conscious level or or on an unconscious level can really affect how successful you are in life, how other people treat you, what kinds of relationships you find yourself in, and it'll and also patterns repeating themselves, patterns of failure or patterns of getting into relationships which are unhealthy or abusive or just really not what you want. And I run across this a lot with my clients. Actually, how we treat ourselves and how we feel about ourselves reflects how other people are going to see us and how they will treat us. And it's something that often I find that people are not aware of consciously. On a conscious level, they may really think. I'm thinking of a common issue that comes up in readings with clients is that somebody will come to me and say, I don't know what it is, but I just keep getting into these relationships with men who are selfish and verbally abusive and controlling, and I can't figure out why that keeps happening. And it happens over and over again. And at first, he seems like a really nice guy for the first couple of months, and then it comes out that he's really not. He's really just like my ex-husband. And I actually had one person say to me, what is going on here? It's not like I'm running around with a sign on my back that says, I am looking for a domineering, selfish, nasty man. And so, after really thinking about that a lot over the past years, I realized that what is really going on there is that on a really psychic or subliminal or unconscious level, we have certain beliefs about ourselves and what we believe that we deserve. Even if we consciously are saying, I really want somebody who's going to treat me well and treat me as an equal and have a healthy relationship, but that is not what happens in the world. And it's because on a very deep level sometimes that we often are not aware of, we still hold on to these beliefs that we don't deserve to have someone nice, to have a nice person or a nice man or a nice woman. I mean, it happens to men, not just women. I don't mean to imply that it's always men who are getting, women who are getting into this situation with relationships, but it's something that on an energetic level, everything is energy. We're all made up of energy, and we create impressions on our environment through energy, and we interact with other people on an energetic level. There's a lot going on when you communicate with people that's not seen, that's not words or actions. It's really on what I call an energetic level, or you could call it an unconscious level. And so when you have these beliefs about yourself that are instilled really deeply, a person who is domineering or who is controlling or maybe even abusive, is you draw people like that to you. If you have and you don't realize that you're doing it, but you are drawing to you people who have those qualities, and so the pattern just continues. The destructive pattern. And when people realize that, they can change that, by changing their belief system. And I want to talk for a minute because some people may be wondering, well, where does this come from? Why do people have, some people, have these beliefs about themselves that they're not worthy or they don't deserve a good relationship? And the answer is, usually I find, from our childhoods, it could be that, someone had a parent or parents, who were, not very demonstrative and not very warm. Or maybe they were downright abusive and they, said, denigrating things, to you, or told you, or didn't praise you enough. And so you really feel, like, especially if it's the parent of the opposite sex. So you might find yourself, what I call, not literally, but marrying one's mother or one's father, someone who has those same qualities. It's done on an unconscious level. If your mother or father was abusive, even though it would seem like the last thing you would want to do, it's something that's familiar to you or to the person, and so they unconsciously seek out somebody who will treat them in that same way. And it's a difficult thing to break, but it has been done. It certainly has been done. I've seen quite a few people break that pattern. So, and the other thing I wanted to mention about, where does that come from, is that I personally believe that it can also come from, past lives, past lives where you weren't treated well or where you weren't valued. And so some of those beliefs you can carry them over. So it can certainly, come from that as well. And the other way that it can manifest too is in situations like, not getting a good job and not getting treated well where you work, not getting the job that you really want because you don't feel that you're smart enough or that you really deserve, to earn a good living. Or I've also had people, or many people, have issues with friends, where they hook up with friends who might be, self-centered, selfish, but the person that I'm reading for, the person I'm talking to or reading for is someone who ends up always being the caregiver or always being the one who's doing all the giving. And then I've had people actually say to me, I do everything, and people come to me with their problems and I listen to them and I am very compassionate. And then when I ask for something or ask to be listened to, that, they just kind of turn the conversation back to themselves. And they just sort of, take that and they don't realize it, or they realize it, but they don't know how to really get it. That friendship, like all relationships, is reciprocal. There's give and take. And that sometimes you're the one who's listening and providing comfort or just our sounding board, and sometimes the other person is. But there has to be, some balance there. So the question then comes up about how can you change that, from actually, being a victim. And that the ironic thing too is that the people that we unconsciously invite into our lives as romantic partners or as friends sometimes are often people who in their unconscious or on their energy level, they're looking for someone who is maybe passive and who will tolerate that kind of behavior. And often for them too, they have low self-esteem, and so they need to be in control in a negative way, like really in a controlling position. However, I need to add that even if that's true, and if you're in a relationship like that and you think, that's, my husband is really abusive, or my friend is really unkind to me, or not helpful, that and feeling bad for them because maybe they're insecure, and they may have been abused, may have suffered as children, or the same way that you have. It's just that they're sort of being predatory or being dominant instead of being victimized. But you need to remember that you can't save another person, and you should not sacrifice I believe anyway that one should not sacrifice oneself for someone else's growth. In other words, you shouldn't accept bad treatment or abuse from someone else because you feel badly for them. That you really need to set some boundaries with that. So there are many ways that you can change those core beliefs about yourself, and one of them that I particularly like, and a lot of people really like and find very relaxing, is guided meditation tapes. And there are so many of those out there. You can find them in some stores. You can find them on the internet. And so there are many tapes with meditations on self-confidence and raising your self-esteem, which can be really, really helpful. You listen to it when you're in a very relaxed state, and it really kind of seeps into your consciousness, or into your unconscious and then your consciousness. The other thing that I really am fond of for many different things is affirmations, and that can be done in a variety of ways. And that also, I think, really seeps into your into your energy field, into your unconscious and into your psyche. You can do it in a very simple way. Just take sticky pads, and write something on it. Say, for example, I deserve abundance, or I am worthy of having a relationship with someone who is kind and who will treat me as an equal. I mean, the wording is completely up to you. You can use sticky pads or really beautiful paper. It doesn't really matter, how you do it. And one thing that people sometimes will do, and that I've done actually, is, put the little sticky pad on my bathroom mirror or on a cabinet in the kitchen, someplace where I'll see it, as I walk by it or as I'm there, so that I will see that. And every time you see it, it kind of sinks in more and more. And I've had people tell me that really, really can help. And the other thing you can do is, take a piece of paper like that and, write whatever it is that you want, or whatever positive outcome you want, and put it under your pillow when you sleep at night. And before you go to sleep, say something. Say, while I sleep, these words will become a part of me, and I will come to believe them on a deep level, or something like that. I mean, it can really be just your own words. And another really great way to do it is if you have a tarot deck that you really like, and this is something that I really like because I really resonate to tarot since I read the cards, is to look through the deck and pick a card that to you resonates with what you want. For example, if you've been feeling depressed, or you've been sick and you feel like kind of fatigued and low energy, a card like the Sun would be really good, because it's, to me, represents energy and vitality and strength and light, that kind of thing. And so if you have a deck, I mean, just familiarize yourself with it and look through it and see what cards really speak to you about whatever issue it is that you're wanting to change or make more positive. And you could put tarot cards around your house also, in the same way that you might something that you wrote down, like on the kitchen counter or in the bathroom. And I guess doing those things would depend on who you live with. If you live with someone who is understanding about that and doesn't mind seeing tarot cards. My husband is totally fine with it, so I can do that. So those are some really, really good ways of doing that. And the last thing I just want to mention is therapy. If it's something that you really are having a hard time with, see a therapist. Find yourself a good therapist or counselor, someone that you can talk to and really resolve these issues. And one additional thing on therapy is that remember that if you go to see one therapist and it doesn't work, therapy is like anything else. It has to be the right person, and the right person for me or for someone else may not be the right person for you, because we all like or kind of click with different people. So if you try one person, don't just say, oh, that's not going to work. Maybe just try a different therapist, so look at that and try a few different people until you find the right person. And I wish all of you positive outcomes and good self-esteem and happiness. And thank you for watching.
In the winter of 1709, Leopold, Duke of Lorraine in Europe, owned a bear called Marco, which had become very tame, and which was remarkable for the strength of his love for those whom he happened to fancy. One night, a poor boy had been placed in a barn to stay. This boy, finding that he was near the hut occupied by the Duke's bear, took it into his head to go and pay the bear a visit. He had no sooner formed the determination than off he started to see Marco. He was cold, and not having any other way of warming himself, he thought he would see if Marco could not be prevailed upon to let him share in the benefit of his shaggy coat for a while. So in he went, and he and the bear were soon on the best of terms. Marco took him between his paws and warmed him by pressing him to his breast until the next morning, when he allowed him to depart to ramble about the city. In the evening, the young boy returned to the bear's den and was received with the same marks of kindness and affection. For several days the boy made this den his home. The bear saved a part of his food for his companion, and they lived together on the friendliest terms. A number of days passed in this manner, without the servants knowing anything about the circumstance, the boy not being in the den when the bear's food was brought. At length, one day, when someone came to bring the generous animal his supper rather later than usual, the boy was there. The servant then saw the fondness of the bear for the young boy. The boy was asleep. The bear rolled his eyes around in a furious manner, and seemed to intimate that as little noise as possible must be made, for fear of awaking the child, whom he clasped to his breast. The bear did not move when the food was placed before him. This extraordinary circumstance was related to Leopold, who, with a good many others, went to the bear's hut, where they found with surprise that the animal never stirred as long as his guest manifested a disposition to sleep. When the little fellow awoke in the morning, he was very much ashamed and alarmed to find that he was discovered, thinking he should be punished, and he begged the Duke's pardon for the liberty he had taken with his bear. The bear, however, caressed his new friend, and tried to prevail upon him to eat a part of the supper which he had been brought the previous evening, and which he had left untouched to share with his friend. Hi. As you may know, Patty and I are both tarot card readers, and we have found that it's useful sometimes to show people the images that we're being shown when we give readings, in order to reinforce some encouragement or enlightenment that's being offered to people by their spirit guides. And to that end, we thought it might be useful to talk about some of the tarot images. So from time to time, we're going to be bringing tarot images into, bring them in as short discussions. And we certainly have talked about them in the past, as you know, but we're going to be doing this on an ongoing basis, when time permits. And one card that I like, I'm not going to say this is my favorite or anything like this, but I find a lot of layers of meaning to this card, is the Ten of Pentacles. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit. You'll see the Ten of Pentacles coming up on your screen. Now, first thing I'd like to say is that different people have different takes on what these cards mean. You really have to put something of yourself into the images in order to get the most from them, I think. And we're all going to see different things in these cards. So your interpretation is your own and is just as valid as mine or anyone else's, and is absolutely to be respected. So the messages that you feel coming from any card for you are for you, and they are valid. So I think you should definitely go with that. And don't second guess yourself or say, oh, well, Lucia says this or Patty says that, sees this or sees that. What you see is valid for you, and that's to be honored. But having said that, I'm going to share with you some of the things that I see in cards. But before I do, one other thought. A thought that I have about getting the most out of a card, if you're just learning about the different cards or learning about a new deck, is to, one little exercise that I like to do is to sort of imagine that card life size and then step into it. Step right into the scene and ask the actors, the players in any scene, what wisdom they have to give me or what guidance they have for me. So I find that useful, and that's just a thought for you. To get back to the Ten of Pentacles, this is, for one thing, this is the card of long life. You see the elder gentleman in the card? This connotes long life. So people like to see this one. I guess I should say that the 10 of anything really is the end of, the numbers go up to 10. So the 10 of any of the suits, of which Pentacles is one, really connotes a strong meaning. So the 10 of Pentacles, one of its meanings is long life. Another one that I find sort of goes along with long life, but it often comes up in context with other cards to connote that something is, you've set a course for the rest of your life. For example, let's say that you've just quit your job and bought that sailboat and you're going around the world. What that means, if I see the Ten of Pentacles coming up around this huge change, the sea change, if you pardon the pun, is that this is something that you probably are going to be doing for the rest of your life. So the Ten of Pentacles also means that. That's what the elder gentleman means. It also can connote conformity. all of the buildings, the sameness of the buildings, connotes conformity. And I often see that when someone is conforming and is really feeling constrained and is not happy about it and wants to sort of break out but is afraid of what other people will think or that sort of thing. So it often comes up when someone needs to break away from conformity. And it also, if you'll notice the family in the image, it often means, and the happiness, the animals, the pets, it often can mean, again, in context. The context is important with other cards, but it often can mean that the decision you are now making is a good decision for your family as well as yourself. That everyone is going to benefit, the children, your children, their children, and that sort of thing. Or that it's going to, the decisions you're making today are going to affect your children and their children and so on. So those are just a few of the meanings you can get from the Ten of Pentacles. I suggest that you step into this card and see what it means to you. Write down your meanings and put together a whole world of language for yourself so that you can best use the guidance that's offered through the tarot for yourself. Thanks.
And so tarot is used for divination, but not only for that, which I think a lot of people think that that's the only thing it's used for, but it's also used to gain insight, into yourself and into life at life, and also into and also to gain, spiritual insight and to grow spiritually, and maybe even psychically. So, so it's not just for seeing what'll happen next week. It's a lot deeper than that. And this card is really, I think, quite profound and quite deep. And it's, I think, also a very misunderstood card, especially the name of it, the Hanged Man, because I think when we hear those three words, the Hanged Man, we think of someone who's being hung by a noose. I mean, someone who's being, hung. And that's really not what this card is about at all. And if you look at it, you will see that that the guy on the card is actually just tied, and it looks like a very loose tie, hanging by his ankle, from a tree or from a branch, and also that the branch has leaves on it, which to me, symbolize, new growth and new opportunity, new ways of looking at things. And let me just add, as Lucia said earlier, I also believe that, as you're looking at this card on the screen, think to yourself and make a note, maybe just kind of remember when you first saw the card, what did you kind of feel intuitively about the card? Did it bring up any feelings or any emotions or any impressions? And go with those, because the cards, each person's insights are just as valid as anyone else's, and each, one person may look at a card differently than someone else. You'll see that he is hanging, upside down, and there are leaves, indicating growth and, new beginnings. And also the other thing is too, he doesn't look uncomfortable. He's not hanging by his neck. He's hanging by his ankle, and he looks, to me anyway, he looks like he's kind of relaxed, almost like he's in a meditative pose, or even a yoga kind of pose. And he has around his head, kind of a halo, or it's sort of like, to me, that signifies sort of an aha moment or an epiphany kind of thing. And he's looking at things from a different angle. He's upside down. So clearly, when you're upside down, you are looking at things from a totally different perspective, not from the usual way that you may think of things. So when this comes up in a reading, it often means that you are either starting to look at things differently or in a new way, or that you will do that, or maybe that you need to do that you need to open more and be more open to new ideas and new ways of looking at things. So it can be, seeing things from a new and different angle or point of view. And also the halo around its head can indicate spiritual enlightenment. And also it can mean, to me, sometimes the need to wait before taking action, the need to go within and to really contemplate the meaning of something on a deeper level, before you act, and the need to kind of wait for something to unfold. And the reason for that is usually that more insight is needed or more understanding is needed before you go further. So it does have different layers of meaning. And the hanged man, just that those three words really have, I think, a connotation that, can be seen as pretty negative. The other thing I want to mention is that he is wearing in this deck, this is called the Radiant Tarot, and it actually is the same pictures as the traditional Rider-Waite deck, which is a very popular deck. And if any of you have had readings or have a deck of your own, or had looked at tarot books, you've probably seen that deck. And this particular deck has the exact same pictures, but it's just colored in differently. The colors are different, and the background is kind of a lavender color, a purplish color, and that particular color symbolizes psychic awareness, opening of the third eye, or that chakra, spiritual awareness. So which is what this card is about partly. And he's also wearing a blue shirt, which to me can also be about spiritual awareness and also about calmness and relaxation. And also the pants or tights that he's wearing are red, which signify action and passion. And since they're on his legs, it seems like that would be something maybe that he would be doing after he takes the time, after he is upright again, after he's ready to to really move. And as Lucia said, and I totally believe this, is that this is only my point of view on this, and you should go with what you believe about this. There is no right or wrong about how to look at a card. So really go with your own impressions, and hopefully maybe some of the observations or feelings that I've talked about will give you some things to think about, and maybe you can certainly add to those your own interpretations or your own feelings about it. So if you are studying the tarot, go with your own intuition and listen to your own inner voice, and have fun with it. Have fun with it above all, and enjoy. Thank you.
A certain young man, having caught one day a great number of doves, as he was to sell them, he met St. Francis, who always felt a great compassion for such gentle animals. And looking at the doves with eyes of pity, he said to the young man, "O good man, I entreat thee to give me those harmless birds, emblems of humble, pure, and faithful souls, so that they may not fall into cruel hands, which would put them to death." And the young man immediately gave them to St. Francis, who, placing them in his bosom, addressed them thus sweetly: "O my little sisters, the doves, so simple, so innocent, and so chaste, I will save you from death, and make your nests, that you may increase and multiply." Then St. Francis made nests for them all, and they began to lay their eggs, and hatch them in the presence of the brethren, and were as familiar and as tame with St. Francis and the friars as if they had been hens brought up amongst them, nor did they ever go away until St. Francis had given them his blessing.
When people take on pets, be they large or small, they need care, they need maintenance, and they have the ability to give, what's the word I'm looking for? Never-ending love back. But they require some maintenance from the people who own them. And in many cases, people, for whatever reason, situations change, and they find themselves in a position where they're unable to provide appropriately for their animals. And that's where we can step in to help. We take the animals and give them what they need to get back on track and try and find them give them a new lease on life.
Yeah, so pets make people feel better, especially the elderly. They bring a lot of joy to families. they just become a lot part of your family, and I think it really helps people feel better.
Since we started computerizing our records this past summer, we have had over 300 calls for service in 13 of the 15 towns in Sullivan County. That's a lot for a small group of volunteers to handle. And since we've acquired our nonprofit status, we have been trying very hard to save our money so that we can get a shelter building. We've looked at several properties, but we have not found one really that's suitable yet for our use. But we will continue to search so that we can get a shelter building for the Sullivan County Humane Society. In the meantime, we're always looking for more foster homes to help us with the situations like we recently had, where we had the 16 or so cats that came out all at one time. Usually it's one or two animals here and there, but every once in a while you run into these situations of large numbers of animals that need to be cared for, and a shelter building would make that so much more doable. The Sullivan County Humane Society is entirely volunteer. We have no paid staff at this point. We receive donations from many of the stores in the area of food and litter and other items that are helpful for our use for caring for the pets. Our volunteers primarily help us with fundraisers and help us with public relations and help us to foster animals when we have animals that need to be fostered. And we realize that everyone's commitment is different. Some of our foster homes are able to take in just cats, some just take dogs, some, like ours, takes a variety of animals, large and small. It just depends on the situation and what people's ability is. We have room for everyone. One of the success stories that I like to relate is about a dog named Sherman, who came to us out of nearby town, and he was left behind when his farm that he lived on was sold with his sister, and the new owner tried to keep him and the sister. He's a German short-haired pointer, and unfortunately Sherman didn't get along with her Weimaraner, who was brought to the farm when the new owner took over. And so she turned Sherman over to us, and we were able to get him checked out and everything, and eventually introduce him to our household with other dogs. And after a significant amount of time of retraining, because he needed some training, we were able to place him with another family north of here, and they just love him. He's currently living with a Rottweiler female, and they get along wonderfully. And I have Christmas pictures that were sent to me of him and the Rottweiler sitting in front of their fireplace, and they just look like they're having a ball. And it was just the kind of dog that the owner was looking for, and everything went well. Sometimes it gets discouraging for us when we have dogs or cats that take a little longer to get trained and socialized, but the benefits and the payback and the feelings that are generated when you get a success story like that are just immeasurable.
My success story that I really like to relate to is a horse that was starving, and she was very ill. When we found her and were rescuing her, she was curled up against a horse who had passed away for warmth or heat. When we finally got her home, she had colic. It took several families, teenage children, to pull her through the night. She had other issues going on. She was full of worms. She did spend a few days at the vet's after we had worked on her for several hours, and the vet had come in and out. She came through it very well. She's going to be 2 in May. She was at that point 8 months old, and she's at a farm and she's just healthy and growing, and hopefully this summer she'll get some training.
So if anyone is watching this from other areas other than Sullivan County, New Hampshire, they can go to www.petfinder.com or www.pets911.com and click on the links to find a shelter, pop in their zip code or a zip code that they're looking for an animal, and up will come a list of shelters in their area where they can adopt, or they can volunteer, or they can donate to as needed.